Bethesda just released the Fallout 76 2022 roadmap. This giving us a near comprehensive look at what we can expect from this game for the rest of this year. And actually, they're getting it to us pretty early this year. With that said, as some of you may be noticing as you start to read or look at the big pictures in this roadmap, although it visually looks really good, the amount of content actually featured on this roadmap isn't much. It's actually kind of rough. So in this video, I'm going to give you my own thoughts on this. We'll go over some of the community reactions, but of course, just first looking at what is actually entailed on this roadmap. So starting in spring, we do have Invaders from Beyond, and this is an easy one because we actually know what most of this content is in detail. This due to the fact that the update is already live and in testing on Fallout 76's public test server, and seemingly will be dropping at some point this March. The big new feature being Invaders from Beyond, which is going to be a limited time or seasonal new event that has aliens invading Appalachia, and you'll be tasked with fending them off. Completing the event, it's easily one of the funnest events, especially of the seasonal variety that Bethesda has implemented thus far. Fallout Worlds is also getting some updates. A few new settings you'll be able to tweak, but more importantly, you'll be able to actually progress the season system in Fallout Worlds. So be able to complete daily and weekly challenges on custom worlds as a part of Fallout Worlds. And considering you could change the settings to make yourself literally a god, this will make completing some of those challenges much easier. As well as the next season will kick off if you're into the battle pass, and then we do have this new public events section. So that's an interesting point with this, and a point of contention as we'll move into the next section here with summer. But firstly, with spring, when Bethesda describes new public events, it seems like what they're referring to is the event takeovers from Invaders from Beyond. You see, with Invaders from Beyond, 3 other public events in Fallout 76 are going to get alternate variants of them, like Line in the Sand will now have aliens. So seemingly when Bethesda is saying new public events here in the plural, they're talking about the edits made to other public events, and then in addition, the Invaders from Beyond seasonal public event that actually is getting added. And you might be wondering, like, why are you spending so much time on this? Well, you'll see why in a moment. Then as we move over to summer, we do have Test Your Metal. Test Your Metal is an interesting one in that this event was largely implemented on the file side, all the way back when Steel Rain was implemented. But we didn't actually get to start testing this until the most recent public test server. So right now it is live on the public test server. I've covered this also in my video. It's pretty fun. There's a few Brotherhood of Steel members investigating these robots that came into Appalachia. You fight them off in the new location with the Metal Dome, although the Metal Dome's already implemented in game. And it's basically a gladiator arena where you're fending off waves of robots. Overall, another pretty fun one. I think a lot of people enjoy this one. It has a cool theme overall. So that is the cornerstone of this second segment of this roadmap. But as you could read by this description, put your armor, weapons, and grit to the test in multiple new heart-pounding public events. And the real key new feature coming with this is seemingly new public events. But we only know about one of these, and they only even mention one of them with Test Your Metal, which we can play right now on the public test server. So in spring, when Bethesda said new public events plural, they really meant one new seasonal public event and then some edits to other public events. But what do they mean in summer? Is there actually going to be fundamentally different public events for us to experience? Test Your Metal, which will be a permanent addition to this game, and something else that'll be a permanent addition to this game? Or is it just referring to the return of Meat Week or something else? It's pretty hard to tell. It'd be cool if 2 new public events get added with this update overall. In addition, we have Fallout 4 scoreboard upgrades. Basically, if you have Fallout First right now, and as you're completing the Battle Pass, you'll have exclusive rewards for being a Fallout First member. So what that exactly entails isn't clear. Are these rewards going to be better? Are you going to get more bonuses for Fallout First? I imagine they want to have people staying subscribed even as the content starts to slow a bit. And then, of course, Season 9 is starting. So it seems like for the first 9 months or so of this year, the 2 big or major new additions are going to be these new events, and perhaps we'll even get 2 of them in summer, depending on the interpretation of this. And it seems like the big content drop is going to be coming in fall, while we finally get the release of Expeditions the PITT. We've heard a lot about these. It basically seems like Expeditions are going to take us to an off-map location, obviously here, post-apocalyptic Pittsburgh, this being a place we could visit with Fallout 3, but in Fallout 76, it's going to be much earlier, basically a prequel to that location. And they don't really share many new details, just introducing missions, how there'll be new releases. We can clearly see the auto axe pictured. This has been something that's been data mined mined or found in the files, and people have even been messing around with it in Fallout 76 already, where there's a functional auto axe that will seemingly be a new weapon you'll be able to earn as a result of completing missions in the pit, and then of course Season 10 getting added. As far as the new missions go, it seems like there'll likely be some kind of mechanic where there are both missions you can actually do in the pit. We saw this data mined quite a while ago from the public test server, but then likely certain missions you could do back in Appalachia to generate enough resources to get to the pit. But combining the wording we see here as well as the data mines we've seen in the past, it definitely seems like there's going to be some kind of repeatable missions, and that's the core of what you're doing here. Perhaps similar to how vault raids worked in the past, there'll be one big location and the missions will take you to different subsections of that location. And I imagine you're going to spend a limited amount of time in the pit. You'll fly over, do the mission for a certain amount of time, then come back to Appalachia, likely with some kind of hub in the world where you have to generate some kind of resource to fly back over or do these missions. It seems like White Springs could be a great hub location for all of this. As far as the when of this one, typically the fall content starts to come out in mid to late September, so I'd be shocked if Expeditions internally has a target release date in September or maybe even early October. And lastly, as we shift over to winter, we do have NUKA-WORLD on tour, where the described the busiest show on Earth comes to Appalachia. NUKA-WORLD on tour introduces a traveling roadshow making a stop in the area, toting along a new season, public events, and region boss. Step on up, you won't want to miss out on the fun. So this one's pretty cool. It seems like it's going to be a culmination of several things. Likely a new seasonal public event based on the roadshow being on tour. It'll probably be the NUKA-WORLD people coming to a location, and you'll be able to complete that content for a few weeks like Invaders from Beyond. But even further, this will hopefully finally add in a third major nukable boss into Fallout 76. We have the Wendigo Colossus, we have the Scorched Beast Queen, and then something else. What that other thing is going to be pretty vague. Could it be NUKA-WORLD related? Maybe some kind of crazy giant assaultron or a big robot boss. Could be cool. I don't know how much of an indicator or a hint this image actually is. It seems pretty vague to me, but maybe I'm just missing something. Feel free to comment down below. And overall, I imagine this is going to involve a lot of that familiar NUKA-WORLD content being repurposed for Fallout 76. The NUKA-WORLD characters, bots, and locations were some of the most visually interesting content when it came to Fallout 4 DLC, so them repurposing that or introducing that to Fallout 76 is definitely promising. But again, what I expect from this one is a new seasonal event, a new nukable boss, and then that's probably really it. And then of course, as they end things off, Season 11 will also kick off with this update. So that seems to be what is actually coming. And immediately, there's a few major takeaways here. Like, where are a few things? On the original 2021 roadmap, we saw things like 4-star legendaries and even camp pets. And yet here we move to the 2022 roadmap and they're nowhere to be found. It definitely seems like 4-star legendaries in particular would have gotten a spot. When things like Fallout 4 scoreboard rewards are getting a spot, I feel like 4-star legendaries would be a bigger feature than that. So are those just scrapped? Is that kind of the takeaway here? And even further, whatever happened to mod support? It seemed like Fallout Worlds was meant to be that stepping stone, that introductory feature that would eventually lead to mod support. Fallout Worlds on release and even now isn't a huge feature. Perhaps this update coming at some point in March that will allow you to progress the season via Fallout Worlds will be a huge boon and upgrade to that. But the day after Fallout 76 was revealed, Todd Howard did get up on stage and promised that mods would be coming to this game. We've heard from numerous interviews over the years they're working on something. Did that just get scrapped? And lastly, one of the other mysterious missing pieces is Daily Ops. Daily Ops has been a core feature of this game for a few years now. I'm just curious that no Daily Op upgrades or anything like that is on this. Perhaps those will come, but not even making the roadmap is a bit concerning. But even as you just look at the amount of content here, there's not much. Like for the first half and then some of 2022, we're looking at 2 new events, one of which is a limited time, so you'll only actually be able to play it for a few weeks. And then maybe we get a 3rd event in summer, but even if we get 3 events, one of which is a limited time, that's not a lot of content for about a 7 to 9 month long period of the year. I imagine throughout this, there'll also be smaller updates, perhaps some quality of life fixes, and even some return of seasonal events like the Mothman Equinox could perhaps come back, or even Meat Week will come back again, because we all desperately need that. But it does not seem like this content drought is coming to an end anytime soon. And then as we transition to fall, you also do have that question, what is the time timing of Expeditions, the PITT. You have to imagine they are going to try very, very hard to get this out before November 11th, that being the release date of Starfield. It could be a great appetizer if this does come out in September or October, a good month and a half before Starfield. We'll get to experience the PITT. But after Starfield, I imagine the interest in Fallout 76 is going to fall off pretty hard for a lot of people as they want to try the new and highly anticipated release from this studio. And it's one of the things I consider when looking at that winter content. The winter content is honestly super interesting to me. I'm excited for a new world boss. It's something that a lot of people have been asking for literally years. The Wendigo Colossus, Imposter Sheepsquatch, and Scorchbeast Queen are awesome. I love them. I know some people don't really love the whole implementation of the Imposter Sheepsquatch, but I'm excited for this NUKA-WORLD tour, the limited time event, as well as the regional boss. But it's going to be after Starfield. I imagine my attention's going to be pretty divided at this point. I'll probably stop back over to Fallout 76 to try it out, but I can't imagine testing that extensively. And just my overall takeaway is there's not much I'm excited for here. The full first 6 months of the year is cool and interesting stuff, but not stuff that's going to really get me super interested in the game again. I'm tired of doing seasons. I was tired of them after season 1. These new events are fun and interesting, but you only do them for a small amount of time. Like, you play the event for 10, 20 minutes tops, and then you're kind of left in the game, and there's not going to be a whole lot of new things to do outside of that event. And I'm not particularly interested in grinding out the same areas over and over again. Now, if you're on the optimistic side, perhaps there's going to be even more content coming in between these smaller things. Maybe 4-star legendaries are coming, they just didn't make the roadmap. If you're on the realistic side, I imagine this is what we're getting, and perhaps even on the realistic side, will they hit this? For 3 years in a row now, Bethesda has put out roadmaps and not actually hit all of the content on the roadmap. Typically, fourth quarter is either heavily butchered or just not implemented at all. Considering this is the lightest roadmap yet, seemingly, hopefully that means everything will get added, but do we put faith in the company that has failed at this 3 times now? I know I'm definitely pretty wary about that NUKA-WORLD content coming out in 2022. But it seems like this is the general reaction. There's definitely a lot of pushback or a lot of frustration with this, the lack of content in general, and really just people hoping for more. We obviously aren't getting any dedicated questing content or story content at all, but that isn't exactly shocking. But overall, yeah, those are my thoughts on the roadmap. I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments down below. But with that said, as always, again, I thank you for watching. I hope to see you all next time. Later.